They thought she was just another corporate casualty. Wrestling fans around the world watched Liv Morgan disappear from WWE television months ago and assumed she had been quietly released or relegated to catering duty like so many other talented performers who fell out of favor with the company's ever-changing creative direction. But Liv's shocking return last night wasn't just another surprise comeback, it was the explosive revelation of the most sickening backstage betrayal in women's wrestling history, and what she did to Raquel Rodriguez in that ring will make you realize that some friendships are built on lies so devastating that they can only be answered with the kind of brutal justice that transcends professional rivalry and enters the realm of personal vengeance for crimes that destroy lives, careers, and everything you thought you knew about loyalty in sports entertainment. The attack that sent shockwaves through the wrestling world happened during what was supposed to be Raquel Rodriguez's triumphant championship celebration, where she was basking in the glory of her newly won women's world title while delivering a victory speech about hard work, dedication, and the support of true friends who had helped her reach the pinnacle of sports entertainment. But her words about friendship and loyalty were interrupted by the sound that made every person in that arena realize that justice was about to be served in the most brutal way possible. The crowd erupted when Liv's music hit, one eyewitness later recalled with obvious awe, but there was something different about her entrance, something darker and more dangerous that made everyone understand this wasn't a friendly surprise return or a congratulatory appearance by a former champion. But what made Liv's return even more shocking wasn't just her unexpected appearance, it was the evidence she carried with her to the ring, a manila folder containing documentation that would expose the most calculated, most personally devastating betrayal in wrestling history and justify every moment of violence that followed. Liv walked to that ring like someone who had spent months planning the perfect moment for revenge, another observer noted with growing tension. She wasn't just angry or disappointed, she was someone who had discovered something so unforgivable that it had transformed her from friend into judge, jury, and executioner. But standing in that ring, facing the woman she had once considered her closest friend and most trusted ally, Liv Morgan delivered words that would echo through wrestling history as the most devastating exposure of backstage treachery ever captured on live television. Raquel, Liv's voice carried through the arena with controlled fury that made everyone stop celebrating and start listening. Before you continue talking about friendship and loyalty, maybe you should explain to these people what you did to earn that championship, and what it cost the person who trusted you most. The ominous tone of Liv's challenge sent visible fear through Raquel's face, as if she immediately understood that whatever she had hoped to keep secret was about to be exposed to the world in the most public and humiliating way possible. "I don't know what you're talking about." Raquel's response carried the desperation of someone who knew exactly what was being referenced but hoped that denial might somehow prevent the inevitable exposure of her crimes. But Liv's investigation into her own mysterious disappearance from WWE television had uncovered something so systematically evil that it transformed their friendship from cherished relationship into evidence of the most calculated manipulation in wrestling history. 6 months ago, Liv began with clinical precision that made everyone understand this was about documented facts rather than emotional accusations. "I was scheduled to win this championship in the main event of SummerSlam. I had been promised the opportunity, guaranteed the victory, and assured that my years of hard work were finally going to be rewarded with the recognition I deserved." The revelation that Liv had been promised the championship that Raquel now held immediately recontextualized everything about their friendship and made everyone in that arena understand that what they were witnessing was about systematic theft rather than legitimate competition. But 2 days before SummerSlam, Liv continued her systematic exposure of the betrayal. "WWE Creative called to tell me that plans had changed, that someone else was getting my opportunity, that my championship victory had been given to my best friend because she had earned it through backstage politics and strategic positioning." But Liv's most explosive revelation concerned the specific role that Raquel had played in orchestrating her elimination from championship consideration, using their friendship as a weapon to gather intelligence and undermine her career. "Raquel had been reporting on me to WWE executives for months," Liv announced with controlled fury that sent gasps through the crowd. "Every private conversation we had about my career concerns, every moment when I expressed frustration with creative decisions, every time I showed vulnerability about my position in the company, she was documenting all of it and providing detailed reports to management." The systematic betrayal of friendship trust for corporate advancement revealed Raquel as more than just an opportunistic colleague. She was a deliberate saboteur who had weaponized intimacy to destroy the career of someone who had trusted her completely. "I found the reports," Liv continued with satisfaction that sent visible panic through Raquel's face. "Detailed intelligence briefings about my psychological state, my contract negotiations, my relationships with other performers, all of it compiled by someone I considered my sister and delivered to executives who were looking for reasons to eliminate me from championship consideration." But perhaps the most personally devastating aspect of Raquel's betrayal was her systematic manipulation of Liv's emotional vulnerabilities, using her knowledge of personal struggles to create additional psychological damage that would make her elimination even more effective. "Raquel knew about my anxiety issues," Liv revealed with heartbreaking honesty about the personal information that had been weaponized against her. "She knew about my financial struggles, my family problems, my insecurities about my position in the company, and she used all of it against me." The exploitation of mental health struggles and personal vulnerabilities revealed Raquel's betrayal as more than professional sabotage. It was systematic psychological warfare conducted by someone who had intimate knowledge of exactly how to cause maximum emotional damage. She would create situations designed to trigger my anxiety attacks. Liv continued her exposure of the psychological manipulation, scheduling conflicts, social media controversies, backstage drama, all of it carefully orchestrated to make me appear unstable and unreliable to management. But Liv's investigation had also uncovered the specific financial incentives that WWE had offered Raquel for successfully eliminating her from championship consideration, revealing the systematic corruption of friendship for corporate profit. Raquel received bonus payments for every successful sabotage, Liv announced, with evidence that would destroy careers and relationships throughout the company. $50,000 for each psychological breakdown she could trigger, $100,000 for each contract negotiation she could undermine, and $500,000 if she could eliminate me from championship consideration permanently. The systematic financial rewards for friendship betrayal revealed WWE's willingness to purchase the destruction of performer relationships and transform trusted allies into corporate weapons against their own friends and colleagues. She wasn't just stealing my championship opportunity, Liv continued with growing anger at the scope of the betrayal. She was being paid to systematically destroy my mental health, my career prospects, and my ability to trust anyone in this industry ever again. But perhaps the most sickening discovery was Raquel's role in spreading false rumors about Liv's personal life, using her position as a trusted friend to lend credibility to damaging gossip that would undermine her reputation and standing within the company. Raquel started rumors about my relationships, my professionalism, even my training habits. Liv revealed with disgust at the comprehensive nature of the character assassination, using her credibility as my friend to make people believe lies about my character and my commitment to wrestling. The systematic destruction of Liv's reputation through false rumors spread by someone she trusted revealed the depth of Raquel's betrayal and her willingness to sacrifice everything about their friendship for corporate advancement and financial gain. She told people I was difficult to work with, unreliable in the ring, and psychologically unstable. Liv continued her exposure of the character assassination campaign, all lies designed to justify my elimination from championship consideration and make my absence seem like a natural consequence of my own failures. But standing in that ring, with documented evidence of years of systematic betrayal, Liv Morgan made it clear that Raquel's crimes against their friendship could only be answered with immediate and brutal justice. You stole my championship, Liv's voice carried the authority of someone delivering a death sentence. You destroyed my mental health, you weaponized our friendship, and you made me question my own worth as a performer and as a person. Now you're going to learn what happens when you betray someone who trusted you completely. What followed was 4 minutes of the most systematic, most personal, most emotionally charged violence in women's wrestling history. Liv Morgan didn't just attack Raquel Rodriguez, she systematically dismantled her with the kind of precision that suggested months of planning and visualization of exactly how justice would be delivered. Liv targeted Raquel's championship belt first. One witness recalled with obvious satisfaction at the symbolic nature of the violence, ripping it away from her and using it as a weapon, making it clear that the title Raquel wore belonged to someone else and would be used to punish the theft. But Liv's assault wasn't random violence or emotional outburst, it was calculated justice designed to ensure that Raquel would understand exactly why she was being punished and what each moment of pain represented in terms of the betrayal she had committed. This is for every report you filed about my anxiety. Liv's voice was clearly audible as she delivered devastating strikes with the championship belt. This is for every lie you told about my character. This is for every dollar you earned from destroying my career and my mental health. The systematic connection between each moment of violence and specific aspects of the betrayal revealed Liv's assault as educational experience designed to ensure that Raquel would never forget the price of using friendship as a weapon for corporate advancement. You wanted my championship, Liv continued her verbal and physical education while systematically destroying Raquel's ability to defend herself. Now you get to understand what it feels like to have something you value systematically taken away by someone you trusted completely. But perhaps the most psychologically devastating aspect of Liv's assault was her systematic destruction of the championship belt itself, ensuring that even if Raquel survived the physical attack, the symbol of her stolen victory would be permanently destroyed. Liv didn't just attack Raquel, another witness observed with awe at the symbolic nature of the destruction. She systematically destroyed the championship belt, making it clear that a title won through betrayal and sabotage was worthless and deserved to be eliminated along with the person who stole it. The deliberate destruction of the championship revealed Liv's understanding that justice required more than just physical punishment, it required the elimination of any benefit that Raquel had gained from her systematic betrayal. The championship is just metal and leather, Liv announced as she continued her systematic destruction of both the title and its holder. But the friendship you destroyed was real, and the trust you violated was sacred, and those things can never be replaced or repaired. But Liv's most powerful statement came when she addressed not just Raquel, but everyone in the wrestling industry who might consider using friendship as a weapon for personal advancement or corporate favor. Let this be a message to everyone watching, Liv declared with authority that transcended their individual conflict. Friendship in wrestling isn't just about backstage politics or career networking, it's about trust that should be sacred, and anyone who violates the trust will face consequences that go far beyond professional disappointment. The moral framework that Liv established for friendship protection in wrestling provided a template for how the industry could transform if performers prioritized genuine relationships over corporate manipulation and personal advancement at any cost. I trusted Raquel with everything. Liv continued her moral education of the wrestling world. My fears, my dreams, my vulnerabilities, my insecurities, everything that makes a person human, I shared with someone I thought was my sister. And she used all of it against me for money and championship opportunities. But perhaps the most significant outcome of Liv's brutal justice was the immediate impact it had on other wrestlers who began questioning their own relationships and wondering whether their trusted friends might also be corporate spies reporting on their personal lives. Every wrestler in that locker room started looking at their closest friends differently, a backstage source revealed with obvious concern for the paranoia that Liv's revelations had created. Wondering if their most intimate conversations were being documented, if their vulnerabilities were being weaponized, if their trust was being systematically exploited. The climate of suspicion that Liv's exposure created throughout the wrestling industry revealed how thoroughly corporate manipulation had corrupted performer relationships and made genuine friendship almost impossible in an environment where betrayal was financially rewarded. Wrestlers started being more careful about what they shared, the source continued with sadness at the loss of authentic relationships. Understanding that in WWE, even your closest friends might be corporate assets assigned to gather intelligence about your weaknesses and insecurities. But standing over Raquel's broken form, with the destroyed championship belt scattered around the ring, Liv Morgan delivered her most powerful statement about the true cost of betrayal and the difference between friendship and professional networking. Real friendship can't be bought. Liv's voice carried the authority of someone who had learned the hardest lesson possible about trust and betrayal. Real loyalty doesn't come with bonus payments or championship opportunities. Real sisters don't sabotage each other for corporate advancement. The moral clarity that Liv demonstrated in distinguishing between authentic relationships and corporate manipulation provided hope that wrestling could still nurture genuine connections despite the systematic corruption of performer interactions. Raquel chose money over friendship. Liv continued with finality that made everyone understand the permanent nature of their relationship's destruction. She chose championship opportunities over trust, corporate advancement over loyalty, and personal gain over everything that should matter between people who claim to love each other. But perhaps the most important message in Liv's brutal justice was her demonstration that systematic betrayal would eventually face consequences, and that some violations of trust are so fundamental that they can only be answered with complete elimination of the relationship and everything built upon it. This championship means nothing because it was stolen, Liv declared as she surveyed the destruction she had created. This victory is worthless because it was built on lies, manipulation, and the systematic destruction of everything good about friendship and wrestling. The wrestling world was struggling to process Liv Morgan's explosive return and the devastating revelations about Raquel Rodriguez's systematic betrayal of their friendship for corporate advancement and championship opportunities. Her brutal justice had exposed the corruption of performer relationships and the financial incentives that transformed trusted allies into corporate weapons. But most importantly, Liv had proven that some principles are more valuable than championship gold, that genuine friendship transcends professional advancement, and that betrayal will eventually face consequences that money and corporate protection cannot prevent. Raquel thought she could steal my championship and destroy my career without facing justice, Liv concluded with satisfaction at the completeness of her revenge. She forgot that real strength doesn't come from corporate protection or financial incentives, it comes from refusing to accept betrayal as the price of success in wrestling. The return that shocked wrestling had become the reckoning that restored justice. Liv Morgan had delivered brutal consequences to systematic friendship betrayal, proving that some bonds are sacred and some violations demand immediate and permanent punishment. The attack that exposed everything had changed wrestling forever, and friendship would never again be taken for granted in an industry where trust could be bought and loyalty could be systematically destroyed for championship opportunities and corporate advancement.